Hey everybody, Stephen Bogrand here, Pro Physique. Today, what I want to talk about is how to make long-term, sustainable change. Alright guys, happy Monday. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I hope everything was just on point. I know holidays are going strong, so if you're like me, you were at a lot of parties, lots of snacky foods, high fat, calorie dense goodness going on. So pretty much when I was out and about, because we had a couple of holiday parties to go to this weekend, I was doing some thinking, right? And after talking to a couple clients, it had me thinking a little bit more today. And so it really got me on heart. So how do we make this fitness lifestyle, this thing that we do, how do we make this last for a lifetime, right? Because, I mean, if I can lose 20 pounds, well, that's great. I lost 20 pounds. Yes, and that's a big deal. That's something that you should take pride in. But when we lose that 20 pounds, did we gain 30, by the end of the year? And so I think this is one of those things that deserves a lot of attention, just because of how important it really, truly is. If we put in the work, the effort, the time to lose that weight, it's important that we are able to keep it off, or at least keep the vast majority of it off. When we're talking about long-term being healthy, like good quality of life, blood pressure, atherosclerosis risk, diabetes risk, all these things, right? That means that we're maintaining a body composition long time that's healthy, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you look like a Victoria's Secret model. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? But there's this range of like healthy, right? And so stage lean's kind of off on this side, and so stage lean's not really that healthy, right? Hormones are all fucked up, or we feel like shit, our energy levels are garbage, and I mean, we're shredded, and it's cool, but not healthy. That's definitely not long term, at least, right? And then so we have this point over here, which is where we have too much body fat, and there's certain things that influence that, and it's like where you hold it. Like upper body fat is worse than lower body fat for long term health, and and then how active are we? Is our blood pressure good? Are our triglycerides good? And so there's a lot of things that go into that, right? And so some people can actually be a little bit over the typical body fat point where they say, all right, well, we need to keep an eye on this and still be reasonably healthy, still have good blood markers, right? And still have good glucose tolerance and all these things. But we do know that for the vast majority of us, that's not the case, right? So if we're too far over on this end, we see a lot of health decrements as well. So how do we prevent ourselves from going back into that danger zone? Danger zone, That's the question. And so I think the thing that I always see the most often is that everybody wants it quick, right? And so I talked about this the other day, like the should you lose 20 pounds in 20 days, right? Like, is it even good to lose weight that fast? And so we know that with those fast diets and quick weight loss, we lose muscle mass, which negatively affects our metabolic rate. And then when we regain the same weight, we actually regained more fat than we lost in the first place, right? So I think the first thing to realize is it's not weight necessarily that we want to lose, it's fat that we want to lose. So dieting phase should be synonymous with fat loss. Just this change in how you think and how you see the process can sometimes help you, especially mentally, if the scale's not budging. I think, so the tendency for us is that if we're in a dieting phase and we've cut calories and we're doing extra cardio and we're more active, and so we're doing all these things to create a calorie deficit, right, so that we lose weight. Sometimes we don't see the scale budge some weeks. Sometimes what that is simply like something we call the whoosh effect, right? And so unfortunately there's not a lot of good scientific evidence to really prove this. But, we see weight stay steady and then a big drop, okay? There's a couple different ideas from it. The main one is essentially that it's water weight, right? So our weight stays steady because water comes up and then we drop the extra water and we see the scale and then reciprocate what's actually been happening. But a lot of times, like say during a reverse, and this is something that I deal with quite often, is people who are overweight or obese, and they come to me and they're like, hey, I have a weight problem. And I say, okay, so before we can do anything, we need to look at sort of how much you're eating, like the kind of things you're eating, and then sort of what your activity level looks like, right? So some people, they have extra body fat, but the problem is they're eating 11 or 1,200 calories a day, if not less. They're doing hours of cardio a day. They're extremely active. And so for these people, what we have to do is we have to employ a different method, right? We want to reverse diet them out. The reason I get into that is because I feel like a reverse diet is it's kind of the perfect example of how we make those changes for things to last long term. And so it's not just nutrition, it's a lot of different things, but I think that we can make the point with nutrition. And so in a reverse diet, you know, it's not like a regular diet, right? In the aspect where regular diet, you make this big change, right? I cut a bunch of calories, you know, and I add in some cardio, and now I start losing weight. Well, reverse diet, we're making very small changes, you know, and so we make a small change, and once we adapt, and once we're good with that, and we're not gaining weight, we make a small change again. And then once we're good with that, and so it's over and over and over these small changes, until next thing you know, we went from eating 1,200 calories and, you know, maintaining our weight to eating 2,600 calories and maintaining our weight, or 2,200 calories, or even 2,000 calories, right? So we're now eating like an extra 600-800 plus calories a day, and we're still maintaining our weight. Now, the reason I get into that is because when we're trying to make changes to last a lifetime, right? We want to make small changes that we can manage. This comes into the winning thing again, right? So small changes, you're getting wins, it feels good, it helps you to be successful. But the big thing is adherence, right? You have to be able to do it. If you love drinking soda, right? Soda's your thing. It's my jam. You love it. Yeah, soda's kind of heavy in carbs. Okay. So maybe you don't have to give it up all the time, right? So maybe instead of saying, hey, if I drink 4 sodas a day, I'm going to go down to 3, right? And that's a simple change to reduce your calorie intake. You know? So you might see some weight loss there. And then you don't have sodas, or replace them with diet. So here's the real reason why I dislike a lot of like calorie consumption through beverages. They don't really fill you up. And so if I'm drinking a bunch of just straight sugar soda, it doesn't make me satiated, right? It doesn't make me feel full. It doesn't make me not feel hungry. So yeah, it's calories, and yeah, those count. But for me, it doesn't do anything in terms of making me want to eat less, right? So if I drink a lot of that stuff, it's very easy for me to overeat as a whole for the day. So what I would really recommend that you do is, if you're trying to replace soda, maybe switch to something like diet soda. There's a couple different types out there, you know. Or maybe just replace a soda or a certain amount of that soda a day with whole food. So actual food that you're going to be able to eat, that's going to make you feel full, that's going to make you feel satiated, and it's going to also hopefully digest differently. Maybe some fibrous foods and some nutrient-dense stuff that's going to benefit you a little bit better in the long run. And so it's simple, small changes like this. Like, hey, maybe I don't like going to the gym, right? Maybe I'm really self-conscious about my body, but I can go for a walk around the block a couple times a day. I can go for a 10-minute walk after I eat, you know? And so I can do these small things to where I'm starting to get little wins, right? And I'm starting to make small changes. And so next thing you know, 4 or 5 months later, walking's easy, right? It's no big deal. That's just a thing you do. Maybe you've made a little bit of progress with your body composition. You know, maybe you made a little progress with your diet. You're not eating such calorie dense and like no nutrient foods anymore. And there's nothing wrong with those, but if that's all you're eating, then it's something you want to look at. But we look at these things, and then 6 months down the road, now that's just part of your daily life. It's part of your daily routine. And so now it's no big deal, which means now we can start making some progress towards other things, right? And I think that in itself speaks to something too. Like, we are conditioned, especially with our fitness and our nutrition, our dieting goals, to bite off more than we can chew. We are conditioned that it needs to be quick. It needs to be like tomorrow. And that's just not how it goes. Remember, your body is adapting, okay? So normally when we talk about adaptations, we're talking about huge time frames, right? Our bodies are adapting short term metabolically with fat stores and with strength and hypertrophy and muscle, okay? So we don't want to try, like it just doesn't work to rush the process, right? There's certain things you can do to help speed it up if that's what you want to do. But the truth is, like, it's an adaptation, it takes time. And so to do it right, it takes time. Our body can and will adapt faster if we force it to. But that normally comes with a lot of negative consequences. And so since I've kind of been talking a while, I want to leave you guys with this in terms of diet and in terms of exercise, right? If it's not something you can see yourself doing in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, I encourage you to reevaluate it. And if it's maybe you just need to change a couple things about what you're doing, do that. And if there's nothing about it that you like and nothing about it that's sustainable, it's time to take a whole overhaul about what you're doing so that you can be successful long term. Because remember guys, it's not just about looking good this summer. It's not just about feeling good about yourself this summer. It's about feeling good and looking good the rest of your life. So anyways guys, that's it. I hope you have a wonderful week. I know a lot of things have been sort of catered towards like New Year's, new me stuff lately. So hopefully it just gets something through to you and it helps you to be successful. But I will talk to you soon. Have a great week.